Are you looking at our MAPS programs, trying to find out the right order of operation? Watch this.
Our next caller is Griffith from Georgia.
Griffith, what's happening? How can we help you?
I'm good. First, I just want to say thank y'all for all y'all doing. I've loved the videos y'all put out. I've been listening to y'all for about 2 to 3 years. I'd say I bought the Prime bundle a little over a year ago. I had some shoulder issues from baseball and whatnot, so I did a lot of wall tests, a lot of wall slides, stuff like that y'all put in there. So I'll get right into it. First, my history. So I've been sports my whole life, football, baseball mainly. First year of college, I went and played football at a small D3 school. Enjoyed it, but I fell in love more with the weight room. So I transferred and went to a kinesiology program that I knew I could pursue and get good in with. Started personal training, interning with the strength conditioning program there, helping out with some of the teams in the mornings. So I graduated last year in May, or this past May. So I'm 22. As soon as I got out, I got lucky and landed a strength conditioning job for a college. It's their first one they've ever had. So I'm doing the job all by myself. So I'm kind of swamped. There's about 20 teams. I train about 7 to 8 a day. So my first question basically is, what programs would y'all suggest? First, like generically, like what's the first, second, third order? I know I've looked at anabolic because I knew it's probably just a great place to start. I looked at aesthetic as well because I feel like it would be a good challenge for me. But I also love the idea of symmetry because I train a lot like I feel symmetry would be. So I was just wondering how y'all's order usually goes when it comes to that.
Okay.
Sounds like Justin's path, almost identical.
Yeah, it's like you're reliving my old steps here.
And
this is cool.
let me get this clear. This question is specifically for you. I know you told us your history. This isn't for your athletes and your teams. You're running
This is
programs.
personal, right?
Personal, right?
No, this is for me. So I get swamped during the day, and by the time I get to me and it's my time to work out, I just don't feel like making a program. Don't feel like sitting down and writing it. And
Got it.
When I get in there, I don't feel like doing it.
That's clear now. Okay.
Symmetry, anabolic, aesthetic.
Yeah, I like that. That'll work. I think symmetry definitely to start with. You've been working out for a little while. I think symmetry is going to highlight.
Yeah, shoot them that one, Doug.
Imbalances. It's going to balance things out. You'll probably get the best results of that. After that, MAPS anabolic will be good. I like MAP strong too, especially for athletes. They tend to love MAP strong because of its non-conventional nature. And there's elements of it that, I mean, if you like full body strength, MAP Strong is excellent for. It was a surprising program to me. I followed that one. It quickly became one of my favorites. But I definitely think you should jump into symmetry. I think that.
How much hypertrophy training have you done?
I did a good bit of it. So right out of football, so 3 years ago, I kind of got big into powerlifting, and I really just wanted to hit like 315 on bench, 405 squat, 500 dead, and I completed that my sophomore year of college. And then ever since then, it's basically been hypertrophy.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious because I know for me and myself and other athletes, like that was not something that we included in our strength conditioning programs coming through. So that was always a completely different stimulus for me, which I responded really well to. But I do think symmetry is going to help to really, kind of do an assessment and see, where there's any deficiencies, any kind of dysfunction that, can be addressed for their strength and build that up, which will, feed in nicely to our anabolic program, which, I mean, that's kind of like our flagship staple program of like, I'm just focused on building muscle and, going through that process exclusively.
Yeah, but symmetry is great. When you start to work on that those unilateral exercises, what you'll find when you get to the end of symmetry is a bilateral phase, very traditional kind of strength training phase. You're going to feel very solid in your lifts, and that'll take you perfectly through MAPS anabolic. You'll get phase one, which is be essentially a continuation or somewhat of a continuation of the last phase of MAP symmetry. You'll see more strength gains. Then you'll get into the more bodybuilding side of MAPS anabolic as you get into phase 2 and phase 3. And then after that, you can go aesthetic if you really want to go bodybuilding, or strong. I really like MAP Strong a lot. People really surprised at the hypertrophy they get from MAP Strong because you think strongman training it's more functional. But people, especially with the back, they develop their back really well with that one.
Now I got to ask, so you're programming all these other sports programs now as the director. Are you
Yes, sir.
incorporating any of our prime workouts and prime exercises within your protocol?
So I definitely, a lot of my warm up is mobility. So I do a lot of yaws and I also do a lot of FMS
Nice.
as well. So a lot of leg lowering and stuff like that as well. And then I'll put some band work that y'all have shown and that I've learned in the kinesiology program that I went through. So like, I'll do like 2 main lifts and then like a mobility for a block and then repeat that.
Excellent.
Very cool.
Well, good deal. All right. Well, thanks for calling in, Griffith. We'll send that over to you.
I got one more question. Can I ask that?
Yeah, go for it.
I just want to first just say, is there any advice or anything in particular that you would do in like my position as a first coming strength conditioning coach, as like for the university, for each athletic team, anything that y'all would put that y'all haven't seen in many universities before?
Oh, I'm not going to be able to answer that one. I think, Justin, you have the most experience in that.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like testing and like going through that, that's why I kind of mentioned our prime, just because I didn't see a lot of assessments happening very often. And I know within the kinesiology setting, you probably even handled like some labs. When I went through, we were able to kind of test a lot of the students and we'd run through kind of like older tests, like sit and reach and, for flexibility and all these other types of assessments. But, squat assessments, the FMS, I think that's great. And anything like that to be able to provide a little bit more metrics initially on the quality of their movement. I think like really honing in on quality of movement will set you apart from a lot of other colleges and places I've seen before. And to then also be able to take some more of those testing opportunities for vertical and for speed testing and 40 yards and all that kind of stuff, just to make sure that what you're programming, it kind of leads to a point that you can show an actual metric. So then if you go to present it to, your authorities or people within the college, you can kind of give them an idea of like what's working, where there's some need for improvement. Also like, how many athletes went out due to injury. If you were able to kind of lower that percentage rate, things like that, I think would be awesome.
What about that booklet you made, Justin? Is that common practice? Does everybody do that? Or is that having something like that you give out to
I don't think so. I think that's something I do that to organize my thoughts better, and to also be able to have that in the athlete's hands. So that way, and I look at it more as like, I'm not super stringent. I'm like forcing everybody to come in with, I want them to want to do the work, right? And to be able to log and to track. So that in terms of like something you can provide, I think that's valuable. And especially parents too, they'll see that and they'll see like how, they can track any kind of progress with their weights, like what they've been able to do on specific exercises, where they're at the end of the program, kind of give you feedback with that as well. So I've what's been really helpful with that for me is just really showing and them writing in there like what's happened in terms of like how much stronger they feel, like how much more energy they have, how much more mobility and like how, and then two, like, some of those tests have gotten faster, a little bit higher in their vertical jump. So I think that all in all, it seems like a lot of work, but if you just can provide what you have kind of on your own computer, but give it to them in sort of a little manual, I think that's what I did, and it tended to help a lot.
A good resource is Joe DeFranco, by the way, in this space. He's going to be one of the best resources you're going to find for strength training, especially for athletes and especially for football.
Him and Justin had a really good conversation. If you didn't listen to that interview already, that was a really good conversation the two of them had together. I don't know, maybe Justin, you can help me if there's a term for this or something that's common practice, but some of the most successful organizations that I've seen in sports tend to have like this like a mantra of like 4 or 5 things that like we believe in, attitude, movement quality,
core values.
Yeah, like your core, like you would for a business, right?
Yeah,
so like
yeah.
as a business, we have our core values, and that like you hire people around those core values. You speak to those core values. You judge somebody's success within the company and business off those core values. And the more simple, the better, like 3 to 5 tops, right? Of these things that you really like when you look as the collective, the huge group of people you're overseeing, like, and I love Justin pointing out the like quality of movement, because I think in young men and women, that tends to be an area in sports where they don't tend to focus as much. And so I like that, like, quality of movement, attitude. And so like having 3 to 5 things that are your core values. If you don't have that already, I think having that and then like just repeating that and repeating that and
that's
drilling
great. Because I mean, that can span all the different sports, right? They all have that in common. And I think that too, the simplification of what you're programming and presenting them really helps athletes focus in on all those little things that matter the most.
All right.
Gotcha.
All right.
I appreciate it.
You got it, Griffith. Thank you.
Have a good one.
No problem. Yeah, it's interesting. He's a coach and a trainer. He's got education, but he wants some programming. I do think that highlights the value, and sometimes just even, for myself, following one of our programs, because I don't want to have to think about what I need to do, or sometimes I get caught up in my own ego. But if I follow a laid out program, I'm going to follow when we wrote it in a good sense of mind. So I'm not going to fall into the trap of my ego.
Oh, I mean, last night I was writing something for us, right? So you asked me to add something to, a program that's coming out in the future. And so I had to sit, and it's a lot of what I'm going through right now. So I had to sit down and like organize my thoughts. And I hadn't, like, I'm doing something, but I'm not like following something to a T. I'm doing my own, and it has fundamental, but what I see when I write it down is the holes.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. And even with all the experience I have, even with the success that I'm having from it, it highlights, oh, wow, I'm not really addressing this. I need to build that in there, and so there's so much value in even somebody at some of the highest levels of training and to do that. So.
Well, and that highlights too, which we didn't bring up to him, is having a network and having somebody to counsel them in terms of in the strength conditioning world, like having somebody to present these ideas to and find those holes and see these types of things, because inevitably, that's just one of those things. They pop up, and then you do a good job of iterating and going through again, but to have another set of eyes that you trust and is always helpful.